Hey YouTube, Qualia here, bringing you all an update to my Cardfight Vanguard Rezeal deck profile for post Knights of Rebirth. We got the new mythish card for the Rezeal deck, Refister, being able to utilize this new grade 2 with some additional guard restrictions in the deck. I have a good feeling that we may see some even more new support for Rezeal in the new season for the Cardfight Vanguard Divines, where they'll be doing the top 8 for the Deluxe Championship, but very happy with the new mythish card to be added into the deck. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the ride deck. We have the standard energy generator with our grade 0 being Wings of Aspiration. So well, when rolled upon, if you 1 second, draw a card. Our grade 1 is Patrol of Gusts Ventesta. When rolled upon by Knight of Great Advance Ascensior, call it to rearguard and soul charge 1. And during your turn, if you have a grade 3 Vanguard with Rezeal, it gets +2 on rearguard, making it a 10k booster on top of that. With our grade 2 being Knight of Great Advance Ascensior, when rode upon by a grade 3 with Rezeal and its card name, choose up to 1 grade 2 or less card from your drop and call it to rearguard. So depending on what you discarded off of your ride deck cards, you can then able to be called it back to the rearguard with Ascensior. With our grade 3 being Faded 1 of Miracles Rezeal. With the copy we run in the ride deck, we also run 3 additional copies in the main deck as well. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, counterblast 1, choose up to 2 cards from your drop with different grades total. Grade less than or equal to the number of cards in your damage zone, call them to rearguard. So if you have 3 damage, you can call out a grade 2 and a grade 1, since it equals out to your damage to be able to call out. And with its divine skill on Vanguard, you can Soul Blast 1, return all critical from your drop and deck into the deck and shuffle it, and it gets drive +1 to end of turn. And until the end of this fight, you cannot ride cards without Rezeal on its card name. And you also get, when your damage reveals a trigger other than heal, if your damage has 5 more cards, choose a card from your damage zone and heal it, and you lose this ability. So then, giving it the option to basically transform your criticals into heal triggers, being the miracle that Rezeal states on the card as well. So added pressure with a triple drive attack on top of the heal power, and then just the consistent being able to call out rearguards. But we have the evolved form of Rezeal, which we also run in the deck, being the 4 copies of Faded King of Miracles Rezeal Vita. It can also be regarded as Faded 1 of Miracles Rezeal. During your turn, it gets +5 for each Faded 1 of Miracles Rezeal in your soul and all of their divine skills. And on the Vanguard, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, counterblast 1, choose up to 2 cards from your drop with different grades and total less than grades equal to the number of cards in your damage zone, call them to rearguard. Then you can put a grade 3 card with Rezeal and its card name from your hand into the soul, choose a grade 3 or less card from your drop and call it to rearguard. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, all of the units called by this effect get +5 until end of turn. So this is just an added pressure, being able to call the 2 units as mentioned with the original Rezeal, but then 1 additional one if you place 1 Rezeal card from your hand into the soul for this card, giving you an extra power boost for its first ability, and on top of being able to copy the divine skill, the added call power for being able to call out 3 things in total, including the same grade as something you may have called out with the first part of the ability. We're also running 2 copies of Blessed Dragon Gabuelius for the added Soul Blast power, being able to check the top card of your deck, and if you place it on the bottom, it gets +5 power. And when it attacks, if your damage zone has 4 or more cards until the end of battle, this unit gets +5. And if it was placed by the ability of your Vanguard with Faded 1 in its card name, and no drive checks were performed for the battle, your rearguard attack this turn, counter +1, and it gets +10 power, and drive -1, and it performs drive checks. So being able to swing with a drive check Gabuelius on the rearguard just gives you the additional pressure if you attacked with your Vanguard first, and then have the additional card to be able to swing with on the rearguard also. For our grade 2s, we have the new mythish of Miracles, Refister. I have 2 copies in the deck. This is something I've been mixing around just for the ease of being able to call out Refister. So if we wanted to run more copies of this card, I'll show you what you can remove for other cards in the deck. When it's placed on rearguard, counterblast 1, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 3 or greater card with Rezeal on its card name for among them, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle the deck. If you do not reveal a card, countercharge 1. So it can only search out Rezeal, but it gives you search for more of the grade 3s, whether to use with the Faded King ability or just to have one of the additional cards to be able to then place on the Vanguard circle. And on rearguard, when this unit attacks, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Rezeal on its card name, it gets +5 till the end of that battle. And if it was placed with Rezeal and its card name this turn, and your damage has 4 or more cards, it gets, with this card, for the ability, +10 instead of +5. And if it gets +10, and it's the 5th battle this turn, your opponent can all call Sentinels from the hand of the guard circle. So having a guard restriction grade 2 makes it great for that added pressure on top of the +10 and the potential +10 from the Persona Ride and from Rezeal's own ability to then be able to swing at your opponent and make them eat up a good amount of their hand, as long as you have this card be the potential 5th attack for that card also. Now, like I said, there's a 2 of count, also for the fact that I've been testing it out, and it's just one of those cards you want to be able to recall again from the drop. So once you set that card up there, you have that added play to go into. We have the 3 copies of Knight of Bowstreaks, Nilberis. When it's placed on rearguard by your grade 3 or greater Vanguard's ability, it gets +10. And at the end of the battle, this unit attacked. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Rezeal, Energy Blast 3, put into the soul, draw a card, look at the top card of your deck, put it on the top or bottom of the deck to then set up your potential drive checks thanks to this card, along with the additional draw power and soul that it can provide also. The 3 copies of Knight of Gentle Beauty Novia. Now, this is a card that I had considered dropping down completely. If you want to do so, you can get rid of all the Nobias, run the 4th copy of Nilberis, and then the last 2 copies can go in for the 3rd and 4th copies of Refister. For that last spot there, she's an additional searcher for a counter blast 1, but she can choose and search out units, and then the additional soul blast 1 to have her get +10 when she attacks if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Rezeal on its card name. Once again, it can be dropped for additional copies of Refister and Nilberis if you want for this last spot. And the other grade 2s include the 3 copies of Divine Sister Biscotti for the discard power, with the use of the ride deck being able to Energy Blast 3 and draw a card, or if it's placed on the guard circle as well. For that play, very useful for the added defense, draw power, and then the discard draw for the ride phase. For our grade 1s, I have 4 copies of Sergon. This card still has not been hit in the English restriction list for Vanguard, so continue to use it until otherwise. If it does end up getting hit, you can always mix around some of the other numbers. As I mentioned before, we have spots to fill in with Nilberis and Refister, which can always go in for these additional spots here. But Sergon just having more search power, just by having more rear guards than our opponent, so then we can make use of the search and setup for this card as well. The 3 copies of Gragon for the additional setup of countercharge power. When a unit is placed by the ability of your Vanguard Divine Skill until the end of the battle, this unit boosted, retire this unit, countercharge 1, and it gets +5 as well. So then you have the retire ability for Gragon to then be able to give you an additional countercharge also. And 3 copies of Knight of Strixpear, Silveris. When it's placed on rearguard by the ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Rezeal, Soul Blast 1, all your front row gets +5 to end of turn. At the end of the battle, it boosted if your this unit was placed on rearguard by the ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Rezeal. Its card name, this card, you can bind it and draw a card. So then just additional draw power to make up for the back row units. So a majority of our grade 1s can easily just be used for draw power, countercharge power, you name it, and then keep the back row clear to then be able to call out with new units the following turn. And lastly, the Sentinel lineup, just being the 1 Elementary Sanctitude and the 3 copies of Sethlon for the Sentinels of choice in the deck. With our trigger lineup, we're running the 8 critical. Just want to max out the criticals because they will be shuffled back thanks to the Divine Skill. So 8 copies, so you could see more for the potentially early guard game power. The 3 copies of Perobi to just be able to draw into needed cards as well. With our heal being the Arnis, just more the fitting aesthetic heal trigger to run in the deck also. And then the over trigger spot just being Valnute for the restand power of a rear guard attack to then be able to swing and restand again also. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Just a quick update because Rezeal is one of my favorite decks to use with the added changes with the mythish card in the deck also. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.